Hello, my friends. Hello, my life warriors, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the Day In, Day Out podcast. Woo! Today on episode 206, I was very privileged to have Saman Nasir on the podcast. She is a meditation coach, a certified hypnotherapist, and yeah, we basically talked about a number of things. We talked about how she got started as a hypnotherapist, what made her make the plunge going from a part-time therapist to a full-time therapist. We also talked about how people can self-sabotage themselves and some of the techniques you can use to get past that self-sabotage. Self-sabotaging? Yeah, self-sabotaging principles. We also talked about, what she might want to do in the future as well. I've got to say, she's a charming young lady who I had a lovely conversation with and learned quite a lot. So please sit back, enjoy the show. Don't forget, subscribe. It really does help us out. And enjoy the show. Have a good day, people. Yes. Goodbye. Haha. Peace. Oh. Hello, my friends. Hello, my life warriors, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the Day In, Day Out podcast. Woo! Today on episode, oh my God, what episode is it? 206. I am very lucky, privileged to have, Saman Nasir. Oh, Sammy to her friends. I think I got it right. Did I get it right? Yeah, she's nodding, she's smiling. Excellent, excellent. She is a motivational coach, certified like hypnotherapist, and a member of the AHA and an instructor.
Sorry, American Hypnosis Association.
Well, yes, I thought it was a clan of assassins, but that's my ignorance there. But Sammy, how are you today?
I'm good. I'm so happy and privileged to be here.
Oh, I am happy and privileged to have you here today. Yes, I have to ask. Look, I might be looking at someone else's profile on LinkedIn, but yeah, Samson sales, field sales. Okay, that's you, right? Yeah, I have not looked up someone else. But that's you, right?
No, that is me. That is me. That's my past.
Yes. So, Samson doing field sales, a field sales manager to hypnotherapist and an instructor, nevertheless. How does that journey sort of come into play, I wonder?
So that's an excellent question. You know how most of us, we kind of try to deny our inner calling. A lot of us don't really have the guts to go for what they're really, really good at and what they really, really want to do with their life. They think they're supposed to do something different, what their parents want or what society wants. And that's the path I was following. I was an extreme extrovert. Something like sales was a very rewarding career for me because I love to talk. I love to educate. So I had, a team of 150 to 200 people. And when there were new launches for Samsung, I would just go over there. I would train them. It was a very exciting, exhilarating job. And it was meaningful, right? Because I was helping people really understand, what was really out there, how to get the most use of their technology. But truly, my inner calling has always been to help people with trauma, with addiction, with motivation, self-sabotage. So I, decided to take the leap and full-time become a full-time hypnotherapist rather than part-time hypnotherapist, which is what I've been doing really for the last 12 years of my life. But it was during the pandemic that I fully moved forward with it.
So basically you kind of like, how there's been talk of the Great Resignation going on. So you're one of those people when, you know what, I've assessed my life, I've taken stock, counted all the beans, and it is time for me to change. So doing this change. Doing this change, like what did you find, like coming from being a part-time hypnotherapist to a full-time hypnotherapist? What were some of the surprises for you in this?
It was surprising how easy it was. I really thought, oh, building a client base and, just being on your own, depending entirely on your own income, becoming a full-time entrepreneur would be so challenging, and there would be sabotage. But when you really, truly love what you do and you're not just doing it for you, but you really bring in that element of the collective good, it's shocking how easy things become and how you're able to hold yourself accountable and manage your time so much better when it's not about just my ego, but what I'm doing for others and the difference I'm making for them. That was perhaps the most surprising thing for me.
Right. So basically taking to it like a duck to water. Liking that. I liking that. Yeah, because like this is the thing. What you mentioned earlier with regards to the realm of self-sabotage. I think there are a lot of people which are like, well, basically, look, we've gone through, let's just say, we've collectively gone through a hard time in human history. And there are a lot of people which basically assess their lives and like going, okay, I want to do this new thing. But self-sabotage and like that little voice of doubt, that little bugger which sits in our ear time and time again, telling us we might not be up to scratch. Yeah, how would you say, like, what would you say some of the things you may have applied as a technique personally, or you might have like had applied for a technique for other people to get around that?
So the first thing, that's such a great question, by the way. The first thing we have to recognize is why the self-sabotage is there. Self-sabotage gets linked to something very bad. It gets linked to unnecessary fear and imposter syndrome. But really self-sabotage is a part of you just kind of poking you and going, hey, you're not ready for this. There's something you haven't figured out about this. There's too many unknowns. There's too many invariables. What if you were to become successful and then you alienate all your friends? Then you won't have the most important thing you need for connection, to stay alive, which is connection, because we're relational creatures. Traditionally in evolution, we stayed alive by staying in packs, so that other people are perhaps the biggest survival mechanism that we have, evolutionarily speaking. Of course, we don't need other people to survive now in this society, but our mind is still operating on that programming. So it might say, hey, other people might get jealous of you. All your close friends may not talk to you anymore. You'll have to make new friends. I can't allow that, right? So there's a part of your brain that's telling you that there's something that it's hesitant about and something that you haven't figured out to your mind's satisfaction. So the self-sabotage is to prevent you from going forward into the unknown, which is equated with death. The unknown is equated with death for the survival-based brain. So what we have to do is we have to look at what it is that our brain is scared of. It may be scared that we haven't done enough research. It's afraid of failure. It's afraid of what success might look like. And, where are we going to live? There's just so many unknowns here and variables. So instead of just becoming paralyzed by the fear, the work that I did, that I've been doing on myself for many years and I do with my clients now, is to really dig deeper and ask that inner voice, hey, what are you afraid of? Right? You're there for a reason. You are trying to guide me in your own way, but you are trying to guide me. What is it that I need to do to make you feel safe? It's about safety for the survival brain. And it might come up with something like, well, I just don't know what kind of person you're going to become. Okay, well, then let's create a strong vision of my future self. Let's see me a little bit richer, more independent, and show you that I haven't changed. And to create something, an experience, a lived experience before it happens, is one of the best ways. And that's really what hypnosis is. It's showing us a vision of what our right brain, our more of our creative brain, experiential brain can see. So that's one of the ways to work with self-sabotage.
I often imagine, like, one of the things what comes to mind is like, if you have a very creative brain already, like, okay, now if you're doing sort of hypnosis or anything like that, does it hyper accelerate that even more so, like rather like against a more sort of a logical mind, if you get what I mean?
Yes, that can tend to be an issue, because one of the things that happens with a very creative mind is it tends to be a little bit unstructured sometimes, right? Because creative people have relied on the creative part for so long that sometimes their left brain, maybe that routine, that disciplined brain is not as strong. One of the things that we do with hypnosis is make that creative mind a little bit more structured. So when I, for instance, let's say you're a very creative person and I tell you, hey, I want you to imagine this, your mind might want to go crazy and be like, yes, I'm imagining it, Sammy. I'm imagining I'm going to all these shopping malls and I have money, all my bills are paid. And I might pause and stop you and I'd be like, okay, let's stay on that shopping mall you're talking about. What does it feel like to put on these clothes? And you might start imagining clothes. So I'll reel you in if I feel like you're going too far away from the script that we need to be creating. Right. So I'll tell you, hey, this is why I want you to come back, is I want to really strengthen that feeling of being able to spend money without having to worry, not having to check your bank account all the time. That's what we're going for, because we're trying to rewire the scarcity mindset right now. So even though the creative mind will try to go a little hyper with hypnosis, that's why the coach is there, to make sure that it's not just going in any direction that it wants, that it's a little bit more structured, a little bit more directive.
So basically you are kind of like the shepherd, like guiding them along as, just like, yes, no, come this way. Hey,
yes.
no, this way, come on. Okay, so like,
I love the way you say that.
hey, no, put it this way, look, I know the shepherd has been used through religion for countless hundreds of years, thousands of years. But like the whole thing is, I think in this modern day and age, we do need that sort of guiding light or shepherd, or that sort of like not shaman, but spiritual guide, or that mentor. And I think when people don't have that, it sometimes makes life a lot harder for people to sort of obtain their goals and attain their dreams. Because something what's come to my sort of mind over the last sort of year or so is vision and purpose. The amount of times people don't have vision, or they don't have purpose, or they're trying to seek that out. When you go at that type of thing alone, it is so much harder, because look, we live in a world where how many options do you have? Okay, look, if I told you to pick up your phone and went, watch a TV show, it's like you could watch countless numbers of TV shows, YouTube videos, everything like that. If you get what I mean, though, yeah?
Yes, almost like information overload, and it can almost put you in an analysis paralysis. There's just so much. Am I picking the right TV show?
Yeah.
I only have, these few hours to watch. I want it to be really good, but do I want comedy? Do I want drama? Right?
Yeah, but this is the thing with regards to okay, part of with some of the stuff you're saying, it sounds like visualization, and it seems like it's treading slightly towards The Secret in some respects. I do have an issue with the Secret, because everyone got when the amount of times I've seen people I read The Secret and I've got my whole vision and everything like this, and this is it, and I'll have a better life and everything's going to come to me. And it's like, right, that's great and all. I like that. But man, what is the sort of stepping stones to get you there? Do you help with that as well?
Yes. So it's about clarifying intention as well. The Secret is definitely a step above from where you might find a lot of people that are very jaded. I would definitely say getting inspired and hyped up and optimistic is great, but that's not how our survival brain operates. We have to understand the science behind our brains as well. What are some of the roadblocks that have stopped us in the past? So let's say I'm working with a kid that is just playing video games, constantly playing video games. And the parent's plan is to just tell him, keep yelling at him, right? That works in the short term, right? But we have to find out what's drawing him to video games. Is he being appropriately challenged at school? Maybe he doesn't feel challenged enough. Maybe nobody's actually sat down and explained the importance of school. They've just told him to just do it just because, right? Maybe he doesn't have connection any other way. He doesn't have friends that he can just hang out with, but all his friends are online. So he's doing it for connection. He's doing it to build his self-esteem. There's so many different things. How are we going to meet this kid's needs before we ask him to give him something that's bringing him so much pleasure and meeting so many different needs? Any short-term plan we put in place might only work for a little while, but we have to find alternative ways of getting his needs met. So when people read The Secret, they just consider that part of themselves that's very motivated and think, how do I give that part of myself everything I want? But that's where I bring in the survival brain and I say, look, There's a need for safety. Right now, your brain doesn't know what it's going to look like. We have to create that. So as they start creating, I ask them, what do you see? What do you see when you have this perfect life? They tell me, well, I have a girlfriend. Like she's very loving. It's not these shallow relationships that I've had in the last 3 years. It's something very deep and meaningful. Okay, what does that feel like? So through this, I find out what their real needs are, right? What kind of house is it? Well, it's out in the country. Why is it out in the country? I guess I'm tired of the city life. Like, I want to be a little bit more secluded. I want a little bit more safety. Oh my God, this reminds me of when I was 5 and I used to go to this cabin. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. Now we're getting closer to our purpose. But most people don't take the time to do this. So the action steps I will give them will be based on these things they tell me. It's nothing that I come up with, but I'm kind of helping them co-create this, right? So once I tell them, okay, what feeling is it though when you were in the cabin as a little kid? What are the closest things that have brought you that kind of feeling? Well, when I go swimming, I feel that way. I feel a little bit more free and relaxed. Okay, could we perhaps increase your swimming from 3 times a month to maybe once or twice a week? Is that something that we're willing to incorporate so we can really build that muscle of freedom? Because feelings, like any other body part, our mind is just like our body. The muscle has to build. So if somebody's not used to knowing what it's like to be without anxiety and to feel free, their mind's not going to know how to create that, even if they get everything that they want. So we have to start practicing now before we have everything, right? Because then everything will be in alignment. You'll already know how to create the feeling. So I help them with these action steps, figuring out what their true needs are and meeting them now, even before all the money and all the fame. What are the little things they could be doing now? So with a kid like that, that's addicted to video games, I ask him what feeling he gets. He feels like he can shut off the world in that moment. He feels like he can go for something and get rewarded right away, versus in school, no matter how hard he tries, he just gets people telling him he's not good enough, or he's getting C's and B's, and he's like, what's the point? So rejuvenating that sense of purpose. Hey, can you give up just an hour of video games a day? And maybe during that time, even if you're not good at math, I want you to remember with practice, you can get better. Can you just give me 15 more minutes of math than you're giving me now? Asking for things that their mind is not going to freak out and say, no, that's a straight up no. I can't give you that much. I ask for very little at first and let them link some pleasure to it before giving them big, big tasks. So that's sort of the process.
Right. It seems like it's a bit like you're using like neurolinguistic programming in some regards to help them with sort of giving them anchor points. When you mentioned, oh yeah, the cabin. Oh, what was it about the cabin? Oh, I like to swim. Oh, okay, yeah. Increase your swimming. Like help like sort of get that sort of a strong anchor point. And yeah, getting the kid off of video games if it's like on an addictive level, trying to provide a new anchor point, but slowly but surely. It's not like going to the gym. You can't really lift a 500-pound weight on day one, not unless if you come from a distant planet far, far away, which has been destroyed by a comet or a meteorite. Yeah, but you know what I mean. Yeah. Oh, very interesting, very interesting. And like with these sort of techniques, like I would imagine you're kind of building sort of little packages each time to sort of deal with certain scenarios or like certain incidences. Well, incidents, like things what might come up in life. How long would you say it takes you to go through this process with them? A year, 2 years, 10? How long would you say?
It depends on the person, but it's pretty relatively quick, because it's not just talk therapy, right? Where we're just talking and all these ideas seem so beautiful to the left brain, but the right brain is like, nope, I have experiences that do not match what you're saying. These things don't work out for me. So to find those belief systems that have been instilled by years of trauma, perhaps a generational trauma, there's just so many factors. Finding them and kind of rewiring them depends on what's happened in somebody's life. For someone that had relatively loving parents that listened, validated their feelings, helped them discipline, but not in a harsh way, but a loving kind of discipline where it's like, honey, I need you in bed by 9:30 for your own good, right? With those sorts of people, there's already a lot of trust. It's going to be maybe 5 or 6 sessions and they will achieve, if they come to me with a specific target, we'll achieve it. Versus if you have someone that's been out in the streets since they were little, they know they can't rely on other people. They know that when something's too good to be true, it usually is, and nobody has their back. for them, I have to build trust very, very slowly. And I have to give them a little bit at a time. That's not going to be too jolting for them because their life experiences have taught them that no matter what you do, things don't work out for you. Why is this going to work out? How's this lady going to help you, right? When nobody else has been able to help you. So no one cares. So with them, it might take a year. It might take me seeing them once or twice a week for a year. But that's about the longest. I haven't seen anyone that would take longer than that because there's a lot that happens in these sessions. We do a lot of hard, deep work going into the mind. So
I can imagine. And like when you say it takes about a year, like they're like American football coach, like of the Green Bay Packers, like Vince Lombardi. He like basically they named the trophy after him. He goes like, yeah, winning is a habit. He also goes, losing is a habit. And like the whole thing is many of us out there, like we fall into these sort of mental traps where, okay, it's not self-sabotage so much. It's a case of because we have this sort of ongoing experience of every time I take the shot, I miss. Every time I take the shot, I miss. Every time I take the shot, I miss. And sometimes it's a case of, I sometimes look at it like this. How many shots did you take? Like I've taken 1,000 shots. So it's like, are you sure about that? And it's like, well, they may have taken 10 shots and they've missed. But like, yeah, the time when you look at some people which you consider more successful, it's like, okay, how many shots have you taken? 10,000. Okay, how many of those hit? Yeah, maybe 1,000, maybe 100. But at those key points, it's being like, yes, life-changing moments come out of it. That's why I think sometimes getting out of your head, like breaking that pattern, breaking that habit and making a new one, I can't imagine it's easy. I will say from personal experience, no, it's not easy, but it's still well worth it, I would say.
yes, definitely. The example you gave is excellent. And losing is a habit. There's a certain kind of comfort and certainty. So if we feel like we've lost most of the time and our brain is a little bit more negatively or pessimistically wired because of familial programming or our DNA, we might be a little bit more wired for negativity. We tend to exaggerate our losses, right? So we may not see our wins. And then the mind tries to preserve that kind of reality by saying, no, I want to be right about my beliefs because the one thing that I need for survival is consistency, is certainty. So if I believe that most, like all of the shots I make, I just miss because I'm not even thinking about the shots that I made, then my mind is going to want to kind of sabotage my game so that I can stay consistent with my values, which is I mostly lose or I don't make the shots. So it's actually going to keep me from putting all my resources forward because it's trying to filter out more experiences for me that match my beliefs. Because beliefs is how we navigate the world. It's how we survive. Without a belief, we wouldn't know what's happening, right? So the beliefs kind of give us that anchor, like you were saying earlier. So what we want is we want to really kind of fix these distortions that people might have in their minds where they're not really seeing reality and really showing them that, hey, is it possible that you're not seeing as many wins as you're seeing losses, that you're not noticing them? Could we get you to notice more wins? How did you feel when you did make that one shot? Well, I remember it happened very fast, but I remember I was smiling a lot. I was very happy. Wow, how did it feel in your body when you were happy? If it happened once, is it possible it'll happen again? Well, yeah, it is possible it'll happen again, right? And isn't it true that every time you make the shot, you'll build that muscle memory, that every time that you're making the wrong shot, you're actually eliminating one of the wrong choices and your body's going to remember that? Well, yeah, I guess it's possible. So even if we can get them from a place of truly believing I don't win to a place of, yeah, I could win, I guess, that's still very huge because already their mind is like, okay, there's a shift here. Maybe there's more. Maybe I should go see her again. And the next time we can build on what we already created. That little bit of doubt is all I needed, right? I mean, we have reverse programming all the time going on, right? When we're kids, if we're told by one teacher, even if every other teacher loves us, one teacher, you don't apply yourself. You're very ungrateful, right? Your parents are spending so much money. A child can really internalize a lot of guilt because of that. So we're already subject to this programming. In hypnosis and hypnotherapy or with a coach, we're just reversing that process. we're creating doubt in a good way. We're saying, hey, these negative beliefs of yours, they may not have as much merit as you think. Is it okay if I deconstruct some of them with your help and your permission, of course? And people are usually open to that. They're like, all right, let's give it a try. So that's what we want to do. So it's a great example that you gave. I use basketball as an example a lot.
Oh, there you go. There you go. It's like, yes, I'm there. Top of the class. That's why I am. Top of the class. Yeah. I was about to say, yeah. Oh God, I've just lost my train of thought. Like, because with basketball, no, I will be blown. No, it has escaped me for this moment in time, but I will circle back, no doubt. Like, yeah. So would you say, like, yes, you are you're helping reconstruct people in a new form, a new fashion?
Yes, I would say that the desire, as long as they have that desire somewhere in there, even if it's underneath all of the giving up and all of the negative thinking, but there's like a tiny bit of them that wants to have that hope, then we can really help to kind of reconstruct. The first process is to first deconstruct the programming. Once that happens, then we have some foundation, some good foundation to reconstruct. And that's usually a very rewarding process, because after every session, people will text and be like, this happened to me and I reacted so differently. The neighbor lady, she complimented me and I actually said thank you, instead of just trying to escape because it feels weird to have positive attention on me. Instead of trying to hide from her, actually allowed myself to be seen and allowed myself to be told I look good. For some people, that's such a huge step, because they've never even known what it's like to receive a compliment or to receive positive encouragement. So for these kids or for these people, the reconstructing really gives them that hope. And then I noticed that it accelerates from there once they see a little change.
Yeah. How would you say it accelerates?
So for instance, if you let's say that I was given an inner city kid, right, as a pro bono client, and they came in and they're like, I don't even want to be here. I'm only here because my teacher or my school is making me see you. So I don't know how many people you think you've helped, but you're not going to be able to help me. So that's when at that point I know we're at a deadlock, unless I build their trust. So I'll say something along the lines of, hey, you know what? I know most of the time that has been the case in your life. So I understand why you're feeling that way. But is it okay if I'm able to try with you? Like, would you be willing to let me try? And if in a couple of sessions, fair enough. If that doesn't happen, then we can talk about anything else that you like. But for now, could we talk about the time that you got caught with drugs? Like, what was that like for you? What was going on in your life? Because I know something had to have been happening in your life. Maybe there was some need that was being met by that drug. Maybe your friends were doing it. You wanted to be cool. Who can blame you for that? And just really taking a couple of sessions to build their trust. The acceleration happens when I get some of that trust and they're like, okay, she has my interest at heart. She's really trying. Maybe I should try too, right? And when they see a couple of results, that's when they're like, okay, I'm on board. What you're doing is working, so let's do this. That's when I know, when they come in already with this attitude and I see that shift, I'm so happy, because I know that now I can really make a difference for them.
No, I love that. I love that. Because this is the thing, I kind of look at what you do and you as a profession and stuff like this, because you're dealing with most probably a very broad section of the population, and each person carries stress or trauma in their own sort of unique way. Have you found there's been sort of one sort of sector, one type of profession which it's a little bit tougher than most to sort of make those breakthroughs, if you get what I mean?
Yes, I find that with people that have had emotional abuse in their past, right? That they are a little bit harder to see. It takes a little bit longer for them to see change. As far as professions, I would say people that are really, really in a very helping profession, um, are usually the ones that are carrying a lot of trauma themselves.
No,
Yes.
I'm not pointing at you or anything like that. It's like, okay. Yeah, it's
Right
like,
on. You're
oh,
right.
right.
um,
Yeah,
Sorry,
because
say that again.
no, I was just like, no, like, carry on. Yeah.
So, usually people that are in the helping profession were usually ones that whose parents were very dysregulated, and they had to become adults very, very quickly because their parents couldn't manage their emotional states themselves. Maybe there was a lot of marital problems. Maybe, one of them was an alcoholic. Maybe one of them was doing things that even the child was like, oh my God, is a mom supposed to be doing these things? So they become caretakers very early on. And then later on in life, sometimes they may be fulfilling that role just because that's the only role they know. That's the only way they know how to receive love. But once we dig in a little bit deeper, we find out if they're helping other people because that's what they really want to do and they have no trauma, or it's because they were so deeply wounded and they internalize that the only way I'm useful is by helping others. So we want to make sure that we preserve the good, which is the helping of others, but we also help them to feel not so empty inside. So, for instance, if I'm a nurse and I feel great every day, but let's say I lose my job, I get laid off for like 4 or 5 months that I don't have a job, I don't have people that I'm making a difference for. I shouldn't be falling apart because of that. I shouldn't be feeling like I have no purpose. I should still feel inherently good as a human being. There should be a certain level of groundedness that I feel no matter what. That's how we know we've worked through trauma. Is it's great to help people, but let's say you're not able to help someone. If you fall apart because of that, then we know there's some deep inner wound that we haven't looked at yet that we need to look at.
Yeah, no, because like the amount of people who are just their identity is what they do. Basically, yeah. uh, I am so and so, insert name and like profession here. And then it's like, yeah, they'll talk about that for a good chunk of time before they start talking about other things. And like the whole thing is when like if they've got a family, like really like to the family members, it's like I don't really care about what you do. It's like, yeah, if it's a kid, it's like you are my parent, and yeah, that's what I care about. Yeah, I might care about your job if it like yeah, if it means money and a roof over the head, but I'm not really thinking about that. You are my parent. That's what you deal with. Come on, let's go. And it's like, yes, you're my spouse, one way or the other. Like, yeah, we've got to get through this next day together, or there might be a very long and awkward conversation. What might be on the future? But yeah, but the amount of people who are just so caught up with that as their identity, and people you really see that when like someone plays a sport as a profession and like they either complete a sort of purpose they had. I want to get a gold medal. I want to win this championship. And then everything sort of falls away because of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. As a short-term focus, that's okay, right? There's some big tournaments coming up, next year, so you spend all year. But if you are not looking at any other aspect of your life, if when you're not playing sports, you feel empty and you feel restless, then there's something. There's something there. Maybe there's a deep fear of if I'm not performing, then I'm nobody. Or people won't love me if I'm not constantly winning. So I need to just incessantly win. And they might fall out of balance and they might not be truly fulfilled. So at surface level, we may not know without first talking to them and seeing how they feel when they're not playing the sport, right? Or when they're not doing that job. Let's see how they feel then. If they're able to sit with themselves and be with themselves and have no anxiety come up, then it's not really a problem. That just means they're really passionate about what they're doing. But it really depends on that conversation we're going to have in the first couple of sessions.
Yeah, I see. Now, this is the thing, because with yourself, with your sort of pivot from what you were doing before to this, it's it I, for if I put myself in your shoes, I would imagine there would be quite a bit of soul searching with regards to who you are, what you want to do, and putting yourself in a place of discomfort in many regards. Would you like would you say to people embracing discomfort is a good thing or a bad thing? If was it well, it was a good thing for you, I would imagine.
Yes. Um, it depends on whether we're repressing the discomfort and just saying, hey, discomfort, go away. I just want to get to a good place where I love what I do. Or are we really allowing that part, that discomfort part of ourselves to speak to us and tell us what the discomfort is? It might be something very small, right? It might be, hey, how are you gonna, once you become a full-time hypnotherapist, you're gonna have to, let's just say that you're gonna have to help people. And what if you can't help that one person? Will your whole life fall apart? Versus when you do sales, at the end of the day, you're done. You're not taking responsibility for how many people you're helping. You're just taking responsibility for the sale. This is something very new. Are you ready for that? Are you going to have an existential crisis? So that discomfort is asking for some sort of resolution. So we want to take guidance, because in evolution, the reason we evolved from first reptiles to mammals and had this emotional component, because reptiles have no emotion other than fight or flight. They don't feel love. They don't feel, all of these other emotions, bonding. The reason these emotions are there is because they're an extra navigation system. They're there to help us. So when we feel uncomfortable or we feel fear, but we just try to slam the fear down and say, no, you're wrong, go away, I just want to feel good all the time, then we're not really letting a part of our brains do its job. So the emotion gets kind of trapped. Somatically, it gets kind of trapped in the body. So if your stomach just clenches every time you see a certain type of person, let's just say whenever you see a very tall person with a mustache, your stomach kind of clenches.
That's very specific.
Yes, and with trauma, we'll get that kind of response because something might have happened that their brain has blocked. Maybe somebody like that, a neighbor like that, when they were a kid, took away something important of theirs, or was very mean, or maybe there was some kind of abuse, or maybe there was a teacher that was very critical that looked like that. So we want to really ask why the discomfort is there, right? And find out why we have anxiety around certain types of situations. There's probably some very deep guidance about connecting and bringing home a part of ourselves we may have disowned in the past. And we need some resolution. If we don't listen to an emotion, it usually gets louder and then starts taking over other areas of our life just to be heard. So we want to make sure we're making good use of that discomfort, that we're not just dismissing it. We're not just rationalizing it away. We're taking the necessary guidance.
Yeah, because when you say repression, repressing things is never a healthy option, in my opinion, because like one day, it might not be today, it might not be tomorrow, it might be like many, many moons from now. That sort of repressed thing, it's kind of like, how can I put it? You're holding back the water with a very bad dam, like, which is leaky, and it's like, give it a little bit more pressure and it will break. And with that breaking, it's a case of it's just wipes everything, causes chaos in places, as you say, you don't know where it's going to happen. You don't know what else it might drag up. You don't know what that rushing water will uncover within yourself. Sometimes maybe something rather scary, like even scarier than you actually thought it would be. And it doesn't normally happen where it's like, oh, I held everything in, then one day I lost it, and then the world was better. No, it doesn't work like that. It's like, you've got to constantly work at it, constantly develop it, and you're better day by day.
Yes, the dam example is very good. And that breaking point that you talk about, that's usually what people find as a midlife crisis or addiction, or just when things become so overwhelming because they've been running from an emotion for so long. Then that really self-sabotage kicks in and destroys people's marriages. It destroys people's careers, everything they've worked for. People go and gamble their 401k away. They just want that feeling to go away. But if they had worked on it a little bit more, they wouldn't have to go through huge crises before they have to reinvent and rediscover themselves. I think we should be doing the work as we go so that dam doesn't have to back up all of that water.
Look, hey, look, what I'm giving you lots of free stuff you could just use in the future. Yeah. Oh.
I appreciate that so much. No, I love the metaphors because they really paint a picture.
Hey, I think this is the thing. The reason why I sometimes speak in metaphors, because like picturization is much more powerful just than simple words. Like, because okay, if say for example, if you're reading a book, you start to picture like this going on, you hear the voices of that person, but it's the picture you build in your mind. It's like, okay, if I said Darth Vader to you, what do you like? What automatically comes to mind? A very tall dude, like with a very deep voice, like, who just kicks ass with a big light sword. Preference in color? Red, always red. Come on, Darth. Come on. Turquoise, little pink. Who knows? Red. Red and black combo. But picturization, yeah, very powerful. Always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. So with this, like, okay, I have like not giving away anything, but what has been one of the like sort of more interesting visions that like some of your clients have had for their sort of life going forward?
Okay, good question. For instance, when we worked through some childhood trauma, so there was a client that I worked with that, for instance, blamed right her stepmom all her life, thought she came along and destroyed their parents' marriage. When we worked through some of the trauma and kind of worked through some of the belief systems, some of the aha moments they have when some of that debris is cleared is, oh my God, she was just doing the best that she knew at the time. She really didn't treat me too differently from her own kids. Wow, I was so wrapped up in my anger that I didn't see that she was also struggling with this, and this, and that she did the best that she could. And that's what I love about working through childhood stuff, is a lot of times people are like, nope, I don't want to work through that childhood trauma. I've buried it, or I've worked through it and I've forgiven. And I'm like, the fact that you're this uncomfortable about me bringing it up, meaning you haven't really done the work. You may have thought you did the work, but you may have jumped too quickly to forgiveness. Maybe we need to grieve a little. Maybe we need to bring up some of those, and we need to feel the anger, right? We don't want to cut off these emotions. We need to just feel them and release them. Once they're fully felt and heard, they will release on their own. So we sit through and we put people finally get the realizations. They're like, I'm so glad I did the work, because now I haven't just forgiven them. I've also accepted, and I've also learned a lot of lessons just by doing this work. So some of the deep insights that come from this type of work, they can be amazing, because underneath the traumas and underneath the misconceptions, we actually have a very clear-headed brain underneath all of that anxiety that's just ready to be uncovered. And once we remove some of those things, underneath we have a very well-functioning brain that we can completely master and command. But a lot of times our trust has been hurt so badly in life and circumstances in ourselves that we just can't access it.
Yeah, no, I hear that. I think we are part of the most distracted generation that has ever been. Basically, look, I say this as a Gen Xer, like going, yeah, look, like when I was a kid, okay, you had like here in the UK, we had 3 TV channels when I was like really young. And I was like, yeah. Then we got a 4th TV channel. They used to show kids TV between 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock. That was it. As time's gone on, like, yeah, like the TV channels in the UK increased to 5. Sky hit, like television came on, satellite TV, cable TV. It's like, yeah. When I say this, it's not about just like I'm bad mouthing TV, but then it's like video games came, like become more not problematic, like more prominent out there. And then basically, right, then the internet came along, and that opened up a whole new world of things where, yeah, you can play your games, you join forums, you can do this, do that, and like you just like go again and again and again. Look, I won't lie, I was on YouTube earlier today, and I saw that, oh, Tiger King 2's coming. And like, look, I won't lie to you, straight up, I don't know if you've watched Tiger King. Before we had like became on this show, you were like, I'm not like pop reference person, don't ask me. Tiger King, Joe, like there's a guy called Joe Exotic. Like, yeah, if you watch one documentary of just like going, that is insane. How the hell could this happen? That is crazy. Watch the first Tiger King, and you'll understand. But yeah, I'm very excited to watch Tiger King 2. But like, that's like a distraction all the way, like come like mid-November, and I will be there, and my lady will be there next to me, like going, yeah. I will try not to be nice. Yeah. But just going back to my point, there is so much going on, so much noise, so much clutter. It sometimes is very hard to do anything proactive for one's life, if you get what I mean. And like trying to sort of get that focus is so much harder these days. Like when you have someone who's like, I'm so distracted, can you help stop the noise? Like, hopefully you don't grab them by these shoulders and go, yes, demons, he's on.
That's a good idea. I should try that.
Well, right. I would say go to the deep south and dance around with some snakes as well. Yeah, praise the Lord. No. But yeah, what do you say to like people which are going, yeah, I am so distracted. Like, yeah, life is like there's just so much going on. I just want to do something meaningful. It's like, yeah, one thing doesn't have to be great or big. It's like one thing. What would you say to them?
So for someone like that's dealing with this kind of distraction, I would first want them to understand why they're distracted. So one of the things that I might bring up is, hey, you're getting a lot of dopamine when you're playing video games, when you're watching TV. The pleasure is like right there on your fingertips, right? So it's so easy for you to get the pleasure hormone dopamine. So when you go to do work, it's like a part of your brain. On one hand, you do know that you need to do this work, right? You need to study or you need to work. But another part of your brain saying, hey, why aren't we getting the pleasure that we were getting earlier? That felt so good. Why don't we do that again? So it's going to try to distract them from that work so that they can stop and they can go back and get that dopamine again. Because dopamine is how we feel really pleasureful and alive. We want to be careful about how much dopamine we give to our brain, because then it gets used to that amount. And then anything less than that, that's where the distraction comes from. So I really make them see that, hey, while it's okay for you to have pleasure, too much pleasure is actually rewiring your brain for the negative, because the dopamine circuits in your brain are getting used to a certain quantity. When they don't get it, they're getting agitated because there's not enough dopamine in the brain now. It's used to a certain amount. So some of the distraction is just the boredom that's coming from not having enough dopamine. So mindfulness practices where you sit and do nothing for a while, just sit with your thoughts, can be very agitating for some people. But I ask them to incorporate that just 5, 10, 15 minutes a day to kind of rewire those circuits and just kind of sit with stillness. Because one of our fears is stillness. We don't want to be bored. We don't want to stand in line and nothing's happening because we're trying to get that dopamine. So in helping them with distraction, I help them kind of sit through a difficult thing. So I ask them, hey, bring up the time you got distracted. And they tell me, okay, well, I was trying to work on a paper. Okay, bring up the feelings of agitation. Where are they in your body? Does your heart feel like it's clenched? Let's sit with that feeling for a moment. Just breathe through it. Ask your mind, why is it distracting you? They might come up with something like, I don't know, my brain's saying it's boring. I'm like, okay. Then ask your brain, does it expect everything in life to be interesting? Because that won't happen. So could we ask your mind to let go of this expectation that everything has to be fun or that you have to feel pleasure all the time? Because that's a form of addiction on its own. Just because it's not an outside chemical, it's a chemical your brain's producing, doesn't mean that it's any less harmful. So could we ask your mind to let go of this expectation? And it takes a while, because sometimes we'll get a no. Other times, as we sit and we talk about the dangers of overstimulating our minds, then people are like, okay, I'll give it a try. And over time, we change their belief from I need to have pleasure all the time to life can't be pleasurable all the time. So that's how we kind of work with distraction. We look for the underlying cause of distraction.
underlying cause. Interesting. Yeah. Fantastic. Fantastic. I do like that. I do like that because, like, yeah, the underlying cause, like, yes, is always one of those things which, like, when you look at something which is underlying, it's the thing what compromises your foundation on so many like different fronts. If there is something which can sort of give you a weaker foundation, it's that thing which you don't actually tackle. It's that one moment which you kind of like turn away from. I always sort of like have it like when there's certain problems or issues or things people have in life. Like I don't like there's a character called Dorian Gray. Like he has a life-size picture of himself, which basically like as he stays the same, the picture gets older. So he basically is immortal, but he is so terrified to look at that picture because it's like, yes, all of the scars, the pain, like all of the injuries he's picked up over his life, all of the sort of bad things, like, yes, like being an immortal, you know what I mean? You're not going to be careful. All of the diseases, everything like this, everything he's carried from a long-lived life is in that picture, and he's terrified of it. And I think people have this going on with their lives with regards to maybe trauma, maybe things they've not succeeded at, and they carry them on like their own very own painting, rather than sort of it will be the thing what will destroy them. It could most probably be the thing what can heal them and like, yeah, make him whole again. But they never, ever look, and they're terrified of it. And I understand that terror because, you know what I mean? Look, if someone's done something rather dark or heinous in their life, yeah. If something dark and heinous has happened to a person, yeah, you don't really want to go there. It's just like, yeah, that happened to, like, they might go, so that happened to someone else. That wasn't me. It did happen, but that was a long time ago. I've dealt with that. Drip, drip, drip. But yeah, that's the way it comes in my head. And it's like, yeah, take a look at that picture. It might not be as terrifying as you might think.
Mm-hmm. It's always the fear of that, and running from that is a lot more exhausting than the confronting the thing itself. You may have experienced this in your own life. There might be something you might have been dreading doing, something very boring and menial, perhaps putting together your new fax machine or something that just came in. There's like days and days of grunting and, oh, I don't want to do it, and I'll do it tomorrow. Let me just wait another day. And you may put it off for months, but you might find that once you start, it's actually not that bad. You're just like, okay, look through the manual, connect this cable, connect my Wi-Fi. Okay, it's working. But you might find that right before it is when the resistance was the highest. Inner work is the same way. People are terrified, but once they start to do the work, they're like, okay, I'm releasing it little by little. It's fine. So I would much rather just deal with the pain of working through it, because I know it's going to be waiting for me. If I don't deal with it, it's going to be waiting for me in some form or another. So why not deal with it now?
Yeah, no, I agree. And like, put it this way, you're going to be healthier than most, like when it comes to dealing with that type of thing. But yeah, one of the things I am curious about, like sort of stepping away from the whole thing, but like stepping more to this. Now, starting your own business, okay, being a hypnotherapist, like what was like, okay, the challenges of that, building a client list, like, yeah, getting out there, like basically getting known for doing what you do. Like, how did you get that kicked off?
I offered some incentives for referrals. I offered some very, very heavy incentives. In the beginning, I offered for every client that somebody gave me, I gave them 3 free sessions in the beginning. Now I do offer 1, but not 3. At the time, that really helped me because people really liked my work, and they said, like, I wanted to continue working with you, but I didn't have the money, or money was a little tight. But once you told me I could give you referrals, I told everyone about you, right? So that was one of the biggest ways. Then I also dabbled with Facebook ads, Instagram ads, a little bit, Yelp ads as well. And that's really been very helpful as well, just to get more people calling and inquiring about it. Then I also offer a 20-minute consultation. So I'll tell everyone that, hey, even if you don't know for sure it's going to work with you, just do the 20-minute consultation. Why not? Right. And then discover for yourself if you like it. I'll give you a little taste of my work in 20 minutes. I know we're not going to do a full session, but you'll understand how I work.
Go for it. Yeah, please.
Yeah. Though that was really it. That's all I've really done. In the future, I want to do, more marketing. I want to do more group sessions. I want to do more emotional yoga at like a physical location. Right now, everything's virtual. Everything's over the phone. I prefer it that way for one-on-one work, because the individual's completely relaxed in their own home. They can shut off their lights and lay down on their own couch, and we can work through it over the phone. So we don't do in-person sessions anymore. Our offices are closed.
Okay, like because you're in California right now. Well, let's just say, okay, like California, New York, yeah, they've gone through some sort of interesting times with regards to restrictions and stuff like this. And are they still mostly in play in California right now, or is it like everything's back open? Where like Florida?
Everything's open, but a lot of businesses have decided not to go back to doing what they were doing before, letting a lot of their employees work from home, or going mostly online, or switching over their physical offices. A lot of businesses shut down because they couldn't afford rent anymore. And like you said, we've gone back and forth, especially in California. It's like, oh, everything's open, but 2 days later, oh, there's a new variant. Let's shut everything down. So it's been back and forth.
All right.
But right now, if you were here, you'd see a lot of places shut down that used to be open 2 years ago.
That must be tough, because like I could only imagine with everything what's going on with regards to the pandemic last year, and continuing now, there are certain, like especially in the States, there are certain states which are like, yes, everything's back open, some things are more restricted, like I'm not too sure which states have like gone COVID. What? I was like, no idea what that is. Like, yeah, I have to ask this because you are a Californian, like, is it Californian? Like, yeah, a resident of Canada, California, not Canada, forget that. But is it like, are you looking to still stay there long term, or are you kind of like going, okay, I'm gonna like be here for another year and I'm gonna make my way out? What are your thoughts?
Well, my friends, all my friends are here, and my home is here. I foresee in the foreseeable future, I'm definitely going to be in California. I do want to travel and stay kind of 3-4 months out of the year, different parts of the world, South America and Europe. So that is my plan. But for now, yeah, I definitely see myself living in California only.
Okay, no, it sounds like a good plan afoot for the future. No, I see it. So with regards to like your yes, what you want to do in the future, do you think you're either like you've a guest on the podcast, and I know you like put stuff on Facebook as well, and a little bit of YouTube, just a tiny bit, just a little bit, but yeah, how do you think you are going to, what direction would you like to go in the future?
So I am currently getting my degree in marriage and family therapy as well. So that way I can work with families a little bit more. Because right now I can only work with individuals, the licensing, the technicality of the licensing and groups, but not couples and families. So that will give me that added layer. That's another reason I want to stay in California, because once you get licensed in one state, it's a lot of work to get licensed. You have to do your 3,000 hours over sometime completely, the 3,000 hours of practicum internship. You have to do them over. So I hope I don't want to stay anywhere else because I would have to redo all of that.
Oh God, because like, this is the thing. Like, I know from TV, like watching lots of American TV, that if you like doing the bar, like if you're a lawyer and you change states, you got to do the bar exam all over again. Same thing, I believe, with doctors. I think you've got to like do like the sort of state licensing equivalent Not too sure about accountant. No, no, those are the two I definitely know. I didn't know you have to do that for your ferry. Oh, I understand
Yeah.
now. Oh God, that is painful. Oh my God.
Yeah. There was someone that moved here from Maryland that I was talking to that was a fully licensed therapist. And he told me that he would have to redo his master's, his whole master's program. It depends on state to state, how many courses they accept that you've done, how many hours of internship. Some people have to redo the whole thing over. I really think that's a little excessive.
I think that's
Um,
yeah. Yeah.
mhm.
Oh,
I can understand having to sit through the board exam,
yeah.
right? But to redo your entire classes, the whole curriculum over is brutal. He
Yeah.
decided not to do that. He decided to end up letting go of his license.
Oh, that's a crunch shame because like this is the thing. I can understand it, right? If I was a therapist and I was like, yes, here in the UK, and went, you know what? I'm gonna live in America now, and like off I come, land, and like, yes, I want to be a like I was a therapist in the UK, and I want to be a therapist here. It's like a no. It's like you do in the UK is what you do in the UK. You're in America now. This is what you do. I don't understand. Like if you're in America, and we're especially being a that's like yeah, I was doing this in this state, but now I can't do any of it in any other state. That is mental. It's like
Yeah. I'm like, wait, is this something that's kind of negatively skewed for therapists, particularly because with any other profession, you might have to do a little bit of work. And I want to be very clear about this. So it's not for every state. It
yeah,
depends. So before moving, you have to check. For instance, if I move to Florida, I may only have to do 1,200 hours, not the whole 3,000 hours over. But if I move to, let's say, Georgia, I may have to do the whole thing over. So it just really depends which state you're moving from, and you have to check on their website, on the behavioral sciences website, to see which one is which. But it's a very frustrating thing. That's why I battled with it for about a year before even
mm,
deciding if I want to do this, because I thought, well, what if I want to move to Chicago, because I'm originally from Illinois. What if I
okay,
wanted to live there, so I had to be sure before I started this program.
wow. So going okay, look, Chicago to LA, and like yeah, look, well, all I've got to simply say is I doubt if you miss the winters in Chicago because oh my god, no. It's like
Yes. Have you been to Chicago?
no, no. Put it this way, look, I've worked over in America as a summer camp counselor, right? In like upstate New York down to Virginia. That's the furthest south I've been. So I've been on the East Coast. Haven't got to Chicago yet. But like this is the thing. America, in my mind, the East Coast, for the longest time, is a summer region in my mind. Hot, ungodly hot at times, humid. Like you take two steps, yeah, sweating. But one like back in 2007, this is how it scarred me. So 2007, I had to come over because my brother from another mother had his first child, little Maya. And it's like, yeah, like it was like, Will, love you, bro. Like, so came over and like, yeah, I've got suckered punched again. They're like, oh yeah, it's minus 15 in like in New York City. I stepped out from like I was staying with a friend at a time, like before I went up to upstate New York, stepped out of his apartment in New York, sun shining, not a cloud in the sky. I was like, braced myself. I went, oh, it's not
How
that bad.
anticlimactic.
Yeah, it's not that bad. So I'm walking through the city, like, yeah, I'm some sunshine. Like, yeah, happy as can be. Then I saw this street just covered in shadow. I was like, yeah, no problem. One, two, three steps. I hit that shadow, and everything went from to oh, my hood came up. I pulled the string. I was like, yeah, walking like, oh, it was painful to say the least because like once the sun went, it was like, oh, I know what I'm dealing with right now. I walked past a group of police officers like, oh my, God damn, it's cold. And like the guy was like, yeah. I was like, oh God, it was awful. And like, this is the thing. When I say this, New York's not that bad compared to Chicago. Chicago is just evil on the next level because you just simply get that wind coming off the lake. No, no, I feel cold already just thinking about it. Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, that's something it took me a while to really understand how the wind works, because you could have a day that's like 4 degrees and it's pretty cold, don't get me wrong, but then you can have a day where it's 15, 20 degrees, but with the wind chill factor, it feels like -6. It makes a big difference. It can make 20, 30 degrees of difference. Can you believe just wind would do that? And it's the windiest city in the world.
Oh God, damn. Yes, I can imagine. Like, so I can't like, yeah. How long have you been in like, yeah, California for now? Hollywood?
2009.
Oh no, you go back there, you'll be ruined. It's like, you're just like, yeah, ruined. I'm just gonna say, you're like, you're like, nope. Just step out. Just like, it is -10. Nope. On the airplane. Not doing with this. Ah, brilliant.
You're right. I don't have the guts to go there in the winter now.
Love it. Oh, so brilliant. So with this, like, do you think you'll be starting up, like, say, a podcast or like doing more YouTube like putting your information out on YouTube, just to sort of, you know what I mean, highlight, bring more attention to it, or maybe a book in the future? Who knows?
Actually, yes, all things that have crossed my mind. I think I'm in that restructuring phase where I'm like, oh my God, I have so much to say and so much that I want to communicate to the world, and I want to communicate it through videos and podcasts and blogs and book. But I think right now, because all of my focus is on building that client base, I think once I get more into the rhythm of that, I'm probably going to branch out to more avenues like that, more ways of getting the word out. I think right now it's very limited to like just building up Instagram, for example, Facebook, like I was never a social media person. Then I found out I had to be for my business.
Oh yeah, I don't like, put it this way. Social media, I kind of look at some platforms and it's like sometimes a little bit too play to pay, like you got to pay to play. Yeah, like when you said Facebook, I was like, okay. Instagram is like, yeah, the days of sort of organic growth on those platforms, I think not so much gone. I think if you've got a sort of certain critical mass, you still can, but it's getting that critical mass. That's the painful thing about it, to say the least. Yeah, there's other platforms I think you might be able to get on. Like everyone, like the TikTok. Who knows? But that's another story. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Would you recommend more? What avenues would you recommend?
Now, if I was like, this is the thing, if like I'm going to be like, yeah, promoting my sort of like podcast a lot more over like the sort of course of time. And like it comes down to if I was looking for more sort of organic reach, I would most probably be looking towards LinkedIn, like sort of really sort of pushing it there, like doing clips and then basically like putting long form content out there, links, and basically, yeah, other things. But I would also, like if it was myself, I would be also trying to work on getting my mailing list together, which I have to do. Like, so basically do it a little bit more sort of blog centric. The only reason why I say that is because with regards to Facebook, with regards to like LinkedIn, with regards to like Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, you're only renting land there. And it doesn't matter how big you are, Donald Trump, for example, like that, if they gets taken away like that, you are in this realm where you are lost. where you like need to start again or figure out a new way of getting on it. And if the gatekeepers of these platforms like go, no, and like this is the thing, you go, no, I'm a therapist, like that's hardly going to happen, but it's still things you can't control. The algorithm. It's like, how does that work?
They're always changing it too.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, I know how the algorithm works. You go, okay, how does it work? You got to do this, that, yeah, post it this time, yeah, post it that time. No. It's like, that's silly. So the reason why I say, yeah, have your own sort of blog, website, mailing list, it's a case of you can control like more the flow of that. And if by any chance that, yeah, there is a blackout on Facebook, there's a blackout on like Instagram, TikTok, whatever the platform is, as long as there's the internet and it's not affected, you still have that. If like the internet disappeared, you still have like, yeah, you can like still have their addresses, their contact details, everything like this. Things you don't normally get. So it's just like, yeah, building that depository. And yeah, I think, I can't remember what the stat is, but for every one email address you have, it can equal X amount of dollars. I can't remember what X was, if it was like $5 or $10, but having that sort of contact, being able to sort of build like, say, a newsletter where you are engaged with like your community, which you build, I think that works out more nicely than sort of like going, okay, here we are on Facebook, and like, let's just say, Facebook, I don't use Facebook. The only time I use Facebook is to post something up about the podcast, and then basically, yeah, friends' birthdays. Apart from that, I want to get away from that toxic like dumpster fire as much as possible. But that's just me. But yeah. But yeah.
Yes, you're giving me a lot to think about. I think email lists is just a lot more personal, right? And you get to kind of share stories, share updates, offer specials, offer free stuff. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, I think like do that and like, yeah, see how it goes, because look, this is the thing, like chatting to you, look, for the love of God, you're a salesperson like me, like deep down, you're a salesperson like me. So like, look, remember, yes, use the force, the positive power of sales, and like, yeah, you'll be running in no time at all, for sure.
Wow, look at you. You should be the coach.
I don't know about that, but who knows? Maybe one day. Yes. Now, okay. My final question for this session. Yeah. Now, if I could grant you one wish, because yes, I am a being of supreme cosmic power. Like before we even start, because now I can see you like, yeah, like I've been getting a lot of crafty people lately. You like with this wish, you can't wish for infinite wishes. You can't wish for like, yeah, more wishes. You can't write down on a piece of paper, like, yeah, I wish everything comes true on this piece of paper. You can't wish for world peace. You can't wish for like, yeah, you can't wish for COVID to be gone. Look, like, you have no idea how much power I had to draw. I had to draw on the cosmic powers of Dolly Parton and like, yeah, like Oprah to just get a vaccine in that short period of time. And you know what? Everyone's taking it. It's like, yeah. But yes, you have no idea how much cosmic debt I'm in. No. So what would you wish for?
Wow. Well, I know you said I can't wish for world peace or world hunger, anything like that. So it can't be anything global, like no terrorism or no more children being kidnapped. Okay. No. So it has to be something very personal, not global.
Yeah, well, yeah, because this is the whole thing. When you give people this option, like, you can have world peace. Yeah. No, you never get really down to the crux of who that person really is.
Okay. Well, I love to connect with people. I love to talk and be a part of different cultures. I think for me, being able to learn more languages, like I'm talking about 18 languages, would be amazing. I speak 5 right now, and
That's
I
fine.
really, if I had a wish, I would say that I would know 18 languages. I want to know all the Latin languages. I want to know Russian, Armenian, so that would be amazing if you could grant me that wish. I would be so grateful, because then I could travel anywhere and just be able to connect with just anyone.
Okay, I'll work on that for you.
Thank you.
No problem. Linguistics. Okay. Well, yeah, no problem.
Thank you.
Yay. Happy to do it. Happy to help. How can people find you out there on these big, wide world webs?
um, well, people can find me by going to www.don'twaittolive.com.
Okay, excellent. What I'll do then, I'll put that into the show notes. So yes, people can find you out there on the big wide world webs. Yes, Saman. I have to say, yes, thank you for coming on today. You have been an absolute superstar, given lots of food for thought, and yeah, I'm loving it. Yeah.
It was such a delight to be on your show. I love your energy and just everything about you. So thank you so much for this great honor and this great conversation.
Why, thank you. Like, yes, as always, the check will be in the post. Do not cash it before 2050. Like 20 way down the line. Way down the line. Oh, yeah, we'll talk about it later. Okay, yeah. Anyway, yes. I like to say thank you to you, my friends, my life warriors, for sticking with us so far. Yes, it is much appreciated. So please, my friends, my life warriors, stay safe, stay well, be awesome, be excellent, be fantastic. Be all the positive bees you can be in this world and then some. Have a great day, guys. Woo! And yes, we'll see you next time. Yes. Peace. And we are